This is a stinky spread in my grimoire. I don't love it. Hello, moon babies. It's Molly. Thank you so much for being here with me, and welcome back to the channel. So everybody is currently freaking out about Mercury retrograde, and I wanted to pop in and make a really quick little video to remind us that for creatives, retrograde periods can actually be really fruitful because they're all about revisiting and revising. So in the spirit of that, and to go with the flow of it instead of fighting against it, making the most of it, I thought it'd be a fun time for us to talk about ways for us to revise or fix art, particularly our grimoires, that we don't love. So one of the side effects of being a super experimental, paint slinging, rainbow riding art witch is sometimes you're going to make stuff that doesn't turn out the way you hoped. And worst case scenario, you just kind of hate it. And that's good, because if we're making mistakes, it means that we're making. So if you are discouraged by some stinky pages in your grimoire, or you're afraid to start your grimoire practice because you don't want to make stinky pages, we're going to talk about some really easy tips and fixes for you to try today to help you revisit and revise those pages and create something you love. You always have the option to tear out a page or paint over it entirely. But before we start doing major renovations or burning anything up, sometimes all we really need to do is step away from the work for a minute. So take a break, put it away, come back to it the next day. You'll be able to look at your pages with fresh eyes. It's also totally okay, if you wish, to keep pages that you don't love as growth markers. Now, we don't throw away pictures of ourselves as children because we don't look that way anymore, right? It's evidence of where you have been. So you may choose to keep pages that you're not thrilled about just for posterity, to see how you've grown. You may wish to paint over the page entirely, or paint over portions of the page. This is a technique called palimpsest, where we are intentionally allowing layers to show through to create depth or imply the passage of time. We can experiment with deliberately spilling water, coffee, or paint onto the page to see what that reveals. Sometimes it smooshes things around in an interesting way, creates an interesting texture, or reveals something about the composition to us that wasn't obvious before. We could try flipping our book around, so intentionally working upside down to literally change our perspective. We can try dramatically cropping an image, zooming in, or only revealing part of an image to see how that changes the story. You might wish to eliminate a color. So sometimes when we're working and we're excited and we're working intuitively in particular, things can start to get muddy. And what can help us is to refine. So make some decisions about which colors we're using and see what happens when you eliminate one particular color from your composition. On the opposite end, you may wish to bring in a contrasting color. Sometimes when something just feels blah and mushy, it's because there just isn't enough contrast for us. So try bringing in a color, maybe a bright color, to create some contrast to help wake up a muddy page. You might wish to try cutting a hole in a page, cutting into a frame, creating a vignette, allowing it to expose the page behind it, or cutting the hole and gluing something intentionally behind it. We can try adding text. So stenciling over the top, writing it, collaging it, stamping it. The addition of text to an image can really help us reframe. We can try adding texture to our page to wake it up. So that could be through the addition of a fabric or a thickly applied paint. It might be a melted crayon or sanding the surface of the paper. Texture is tantalizing. It's also totally okay to turn something in your book that you don't like into an inside joke. Not everything in your magical book needs to be super-duper serious. You can make something that makes you laugh. So to recap, moon babies, it is okay to revisit and revise. No pages are doomed in experimentation. Everything goes, and our missteps are really just experiments. Evidence of our journey, evidence of our creative path. So, if you enjoyed this video, I wanted to let you know we started a brand new tier on Patreon, Grimoire Club, and it is devoted to all things grimoire. We're doing how-tos and giving you printables to include in your own grimoires. So if that's interesting to you, I'm going to leave a link for that in the down bar, as well as a link to a blog post about this particular topic with lots more ideas for you to use on those pages that you'd like to revise. So thank you so much for being here with me, moon babies, for watching, for listening. I'm deeply grateful. And until we speak again, witch on, witch boldly, and be well.